They thought they could silence her, but when Caroline Levitt fought back with a lawsuit, the entire show was canceled overnight. The stage lights beamed down as Caroline Levitt sat across from the liberal talk show panel, her expression calm but firm. She knew exactly what she was walking into. For months, the show's hosts had attacked her policies, mocked her views, and dismissed her as just another far-right extremist. But Caroline? She wasn't there to back down. The interview started normal enough. Talks about policy, the upcoming election, and her views on the economy. But then, just when the conversation seemed civil, the lead host, Mark Reynolds, decided to go for the kill shot. "Caroline, let's be real," he said, leaning forward smugly. "Do you really believe someone like you, young, conservative, and let's face it, a little too extreme, has a place in modern politics?" The audience gasped. Caroline raised an eyebrow. "Too extreme? For believing in free speech and secure borders?" Mark smirked. "For pushing ideas that many would call outdated, even dangerous." That's when another panelist jumped in, laughing. "Oh, come on, Caroline. Let's be honest. You're just a pretty face for a party full of old men clinging to the past." The crowd erupted, some laughing, others stunned by the blatant attack. But Caroline? She didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned forward, her next words sending shockwaves through the studio. "So, let me get this straight. You invited me here not to debate me but to insult me? You don't want a conversation, you just want to shut me up." The hosts shifted in their seats, caught off guard. But what Caroline said next left them scrambling for a way out. She thought she'd ruined the most important day of my life by destroying my wedding dress, but what happened next was something she never saw coming. The morning of my wedding was supposed to be filled with joy and excitement, the final touches on makeup, the soft laughter of my bridesmaids, the sweet scent of flowers drifting through the air. But instead, it began with a horrified scream. My best friend Emma had gone to retrieve my wedding dress from its pristine garment bag, only to find holes, small, deliberate slashes, right across the delicate lace and satin. My heart dropped. I rushed over, eyes wide, staring at the fabric that I'd spent months obsessing over, carefully choosing every detail. Now, it was ruined. Tears welled up instantly. My dream dress, destroyed. "Who would do this?" I whispered, my voice shaking. Emma's eyes darkened. "You don't think it was her, do you?" I knew exactly who she meant. My stepsister, Vanessa. She'd always been jealous, ever since our parents married when we were teenagers. From stealing my clothes to spreading rumors, Vanessa had always found ways to make my life difficult. But this was a new level of cruelty. As I stood there, tears streaming down my face, Vanessa walked in, a smirk tugging at her lips. "Oh no," she gasped, eyes wide with fake innocence. "What happened? Did someone ruin your dress?" My fists clenched. I could see the gleam of satisfaction in her eyes, the thrill of seeing me broken. "How could you?" I managed to choke out. Vanessa shrugged. "Why would you think I did it? Maybe the dress just wasn't made well." My vision blurred with rage and heartbreak. It felt like my perfect day had just been shattered. But then, Emma grabbed my hand, squeezing it tightly. "Don't let her win," she whispered fiercely. "We can fix this." A spark of determination flickered inside me. I wasn't going to let Vanessa destroy my happiness. Not today. And as I looked into the mirror, the torn dress hanging loosely from my body, I made a silent vow. I would walk down that aisle, no matter what. And what happened next was something none of us expected. I took a deep, shaky breath, wiping the tears from my eyes. Vanessa wanted me to break down, to lose control, to be so devastated that I'd cancel my own wedding. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. "Emma," I said, voice steadier now. "How much time do we have before the ceremony?" She checked the clock. "Less than 2 hours." I nodded. "That's enough." Vanessa laughed mockingly. "Enough for what? A miracle?" I turned to her, my expression calm, unreadable. "Enough to make sure this wedding happens, and that you regret ever trying to ruin it." Her smirk faltered for just a second. Then, without another word, I turned on my heels, my mind racing. Plan A. Call the bridal shop, see if they had anything available. Plan B. Find a backup dress, even if it wasn't perfect. Plan C. Get creative. I grabbed my phone, dialing frantically while Emma and my bridesmaids searched the house for anything I could wear. The bridal shop? Closed. A backup dress? Not an option. I clenched my jaw. I wouldn't let Vanessa win. Then, suddenly, Emma gasped. "Wait!" she cried, holding up a roll of satin ribbon and a sewing kit. "What if we turn the slashes into a design?" At first, I stared at her in disbelief, but then a new fire lit inside me. Vanessa tried to destroy my dress, but we were about to turn it into something even more stunning. The next hour and a half was a blur of stitching, pinning, and layering fabric. Emma and the bridesmaids worked tirelessly, sewing intricate floral patterns over the slashes, adding lace appliques and satin ribbon to turn the damage into something breathtakingly unique. When I finally put the dress back on, I looked in the mirror and I gasped. The dress wasn't ruined anymore. It was reborn. It was a masterpiece, a symbol of resilience, strength, and love. And when I stepped into the ceremony, every single guest gasped in awe, but no one was more shocked than Vanessa. Because when she saw me glowing in my new dress, she realized her plan had completely backfired. The moment I stepped into the ceremony, the entire room fell silent. For a second, I felt the weight of every pair of eyes on me. Then, just as quickly, a ripple of whispers swept through the crowd, followed by a collective gasp. My dress, the one Vanessa had deliberately ruined, now looked like it had been designed by a high-end couture designer. The delicate lace appliques, the artfully placed satin ribbons, the hand-stitched floral patterns. They all made it look even more elegant and unique than before. And then? The first round of applause started. A few guests stood up, and before I knew it, the entire room was clapping. Even my groom, Ryan, looked stunned as he stood at the altar, his eyes wide with admiration. "Wow," he breathed as I reached him. "You look incredible." I smiled. You wouldn't believe what it took to get here. From the corner of my eye, I saw Vanessa standing in the crowd, her face twisted in disbelief. Her plan was to humiliate me, to make sure I walked down the aisle in tears, ashamed and defeated. But instead, I walked down the aisle radiating confidence, stronger than ever, and she hated it. But Vanessa? She wasn't done yet. As the officiant began speaking, I saw her shifting uncomfortably in her seat, her fingers gripping her clutch tightly. Then, just as the vows were about to begin, she stood up. "Wait!" she called out. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd as she marched forward, her face twisted in fake concern. "I just think everyone should know," she started, glancing at me with fake sympathy. "There's something about the bride that hasn't been said yet." A heavy silence filled the room. My heart pounded. What was she about to do? Vanessa wasn't just trying to ruin my dress anymore. Now, she was trying to ruin my entire wedding, and I had seconds to stop her. The room fell into dead silence as Vanessa stood there, all eyes on her. My stomach twisted. I had expected her to sabotage my dress, but now she was trying to humiliate me in front of everyone I loved. "There's something about the bride that hasn't been said yet," she repeated, her voice dripping with fake concern. I clenched my fists under my bouquet, bracing for the worst. Vanessa smirked slightly, enjoying the tension. "I just think Ryan deserves to know the truth before he says I do." Gasps rippled through the guests. Ryan turned to me, his brows furrowed in confusion. "What is she talking about?" I exhaled, standing tall and steady. "That's a good question, Vanessa," I said, my voice clear and strong. "What exactly do you think my fiancé should know?" Vanessa blinked, caught off guard by my calmness. She had expected me to panic, to crumble, but I wasn't giving her that. She hesitated, then quickly recovered. "I just think he should know that you're not as perfect as you pretend to be." The audience shifted uncomfortably. Ryan sighed. Vanessa, if you have something to say, say it. She opened her mouth, but I took a bold step forward, cutting her off. You know what, Vanessa? You're right. I'm not perfect, I said, my voice carrying through the hall. None of us are. But do you know what I haven't done? Tried to ruin someone's wedding out of pure jealousy? Her face darkened. I turned to the guests, speaking loud enough for all to hear. Vanessa didn't want me to walk down the aisle today. She deliberately destroyed my wedding dress, thinking it would break me. But guess what? I spread my arms slightly, showcasing my even more beautiful redesigned gown. She failed. Whispers spread through the crowd. My guests murmured in shock. Some people glared at Vanessa, realizing the truth. Ryan shook his head in disbelief. You did that to her dress? He asked Vanessa. She stammered. But before she could finish, my mother stood up. Vanessa, that's enough, she said, her voice firm. This is not your moment. If you can't be happy for your sister, then you should leave. Vanessa's face turned bright red. She looked around, realizing that no one was on her side anymore. Without another word, she spun around and stormed out of the venue, her heels clicking furiously against the floor. The second the doors slammed shut behind her, the tension evaporated. Ryan turned to me, smiling softly. You handled that better than I ever could. I let out a relieved laugh. I had no choice, did I? The officiant cleared his throat, smiling. Now, shall we continue? I looked at Ryan, my heart overflowing with love. Absolutely. And as we exchanged vows, I knew that no matter what Vanessa had tried, she couldn't ruin my happiness. Not today. Not ever. The aftermath. The wedding continued beautifully, filled with laughter, love, and joy. Vanessa, she became an afterthought. People talked about the stunning dress transformation, the way I handled the situation with grace, and how love had won in the end. And as I danced with Ryan under the fairy lights that night, I realized something important. Revenge wasn't about hurting Vanessa back. It was about proving that no matter what she did, she couldn't take away my happiness. And in the end, that was the best revenge of all. What would you have done if you were in my place? Let's talk in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping wedding stories.